Three, two, one, boom, and we're live. What's up, Matt?
How you doing? Long time no talk. How you been?
Yes, I've been great actually. How have you been?
Doing all right. So it's been what,
Yeah,
5 months?
something like that. Yeah, wow, time flies, huh? Like,
Four, five. We'll say five. We'll say five.
when did we talk? That was what, October, September?
September, because I was nearing the end of my quarantine. It was the end of
Yeah, you had a
September.
day left. I think you had a day left,
I
or a
think
few days
that's what it
left.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's been a
yeah.
while.
It's been a while. I mean, so much probably has happened for you. I mean, you've been living in South Korea for the past 4 or 5 months, which is ridiculous. So tell me, how was that quarantine, first of all? I mean, you went, took the plane, got to Korea, and you had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that's a real quarantine.
All in all, man, it wasn't the most fun. To for all the listeners, so I arrived in Korea to teach English, and as with COVID and stuff, when you arrive, you have to quarantine immediately at either a hotel or the apartment that you are given through the school that you would be working at. So I was able to quarantine in my current apartment, but 2 weeks, man, is a long time. No, wasn't allowed to leave at all. No going outside. I have some windows, no balcony, but so it was long to no human interaction. It was a long time, and I tried to find myself, but no, I didn't. I was just doing a lot of using my phone, Netflix. I should have been more productive, but
Mhm.
man, by the time I was done, I was exhausted. I mean, 2 weeks. I can't stress it enough. Oof.
Yeah. How did you get your food and your groceries?
So that, see, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but it was a challenge. So when you arrive, you okay. Basically, so I get to the airport in Seoul, and I take a train. So I'm in the south, in the second largest city in Korea, Busan. And so this guy with this hazmat suit on takes me to my apartment,
Oh,
and he gives me a paper that basically says that they will be giving like a care package of food. So it's kind of vague as to when the food will come, but the director of my school had left me some eggs and some other small food and stuff. But so I was given a care package with a lot of ramen, seaweed, crunchy seaweed stuff, and just basic stuff.
yeah.
Well, I basically ate all that like a week later, and I still had a week left. And I was contacting my recruiter and the director. I was asking, "Hey, like, am I going to get another care package?" And the answer was never really given to me. So I literally was rationing out food for the last few days, and I had eggs. What, like 5 meals in a row, because that's all I had, and
Yeah.
people weren't messaging back. I was like, what is happening? Like, this is my experience in Korea so far, just surviving on eggs. And thankfully, my the director of my school was able to give me some stuff, and I was able to contact some of the coworkers who I had not met, so they were able to give me some other food. But all in all, by the time I was done, I had so many eggs that I was done with eggs for a while. And yeah, so I didn't eat well in quarantine, if that's what you're asking.
I mean, you got your protein from the
I
eggs.
got protein and some with these eggs. Oh my god.
Well, what a great intro to South Korea. And for those who don't know, Matt is teaching in South Korea, and you've taught, in quite a lot of places that we've discussed in our last podcast. So if you haven't listened to that, check that out. Super interesting conversation. Matt, so this is your first time in South Korea?
Yeah, so it's my first time in South Korea. It's my third time in Asia. I
Hmm.
have been to China. I went to China, 2009. So that was my first experience in Asia. But I went when I was 13, I guess 13 years old. And for me, I mean, it was a long time ago. I mean, I remember everything about China, but it's different to experience Asia as a kid, because I was with my father, and then here, I'm on my own. And
Yeah.
then, like we said in our last podcast, I was in Thailand, so that was my second time in Asia.
Yeah.
That would have been March, so coming up on a year. But yes, it's my first time in South Korea, but
Mhm.
my third time in Asia.
Okay. But you haven't lived in those in China and Thailand, right?
Correct. So China was about 2 weeks visiting, Thailand about a month again visiting. But yes, my first time living in Asia and South Korea.
Yeah. So I'm sure this is quite a different experience since you're living and working in a new, culture, place, people, language. So I want to dive into all of these. So yeah, you can start us off. What do you know, what was the biggest culture shock, if there was any, and just the way that people live, since, you're really living like a local now. So how, and the way people live, the way, the public transportation, how they go places on a daily basis, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think the big thing for me is the language. As people know, Korean is its own language with its own alphabet set of characters. Thankfully, it's a phonetic alphabet, really. So it's not, like the Chinese or Japanese where it's so many characters. It's only, was I think 26, 27. So very similar to the Latin alphabet. And again, it's very phonetic. And I having issues really trying to learn it. Hangul is the name of the writing system, and I'm very angry at myself because I've been here for 4 or 5 months, and I'm still struggling able to read. I can say some things here, but I really need to hone in and be more productive in learning because the English is not here. And it's one thing to go anywhere in Europe. Let's say you don't speak French, German, Italian. You can still try to read something because it's still the Latin alphabet. Well, in Korea, as you know, no. So every time I'm going out, I still can't tell what is what. Like, oh, this building right here, is this a dentist or is that a grocery store? Just based on the writing. So I am still that's a huge culture shock for me because in my this Korea is my 31st country that I've been to, but only I want to say fourth or fifth where it's not the Latin alphabet. So it's something as foreign as you can be in terms of language. Again, like I said, when I'm in France, I mean, I don't speak French, but I can still at least, type things out and like, try to sound it out because it is the same alphabet. But the Hangul, I'm not at that point. So I hope next time we speak, whenever that will be, I hope I can, have some, my Korean will be better. But for me, that's the big culture shock. And I would also say just the lack of the English for one. So where I live in Busan, as I said, it's the second biggest city. So there's, I believe, 3.2 million people. So I mean, it's a large city, and it's very sprawling. So where I am, I'm in kind of the outskirts of the city, really. And so there's no English anywhere. So I mean, that's good for me because I really am thrown into, learning Korean because there's no falling back. I can't say to the person, hey, can I get some milk? No, like I need to figure out how to say it in Korean or do my translator because I mean, there's no fallback. So I mean, just having to learn the Korean, I think is a huge culture shock for me because, living in a country, if I'm coming to Korea for a week, 2 weeks, okay, I don't really have to learn it. I can still get by. But the fact that I've been here, I will be here for up to a year. Yeah, I need to learn it. So it's definitely different than from being, because I used to live in Spain. I can speak the Spanish, but here, no. So it's just having to be able to do that. I think that's the biggest culture shock for me at this point where I am right now.
Mhm. And on the topic of the language, does that prohibit you from certain things you do on a daily basis?
Yes and no, because so I can't have in-depth conversations with people because it's just a hassle having to do these translations and stuff. But the daily stuff, from taking public transport, um, getting food, restaurants, everything. Since everything is so helpful with the iPhone and there's just so many different translation apps, it's okay. But I will say, little funny story. I've learned not to use Google Translate because it has messed me up many times. I was trying to get a haircut, which for me, in my experiences, getting a haircut abroad is one of the hardest things because I don't even know what to say in English. I swear. I go to someone back home and it's just, hey, the usual. Yeah, the usual. There's never talking like what to say to a hairdresser. I don't know. So in Spain, every time I'm just showing a picture because I don't even know how to say it in English. Well, in Korea, I use Google Translate and I tried to say, like, oh, can you cut it more on the sides or something? And the way the translation came out, well, I don't know what it came to the Korean woman, but what she typed back to me, the Google Translate said to me, like, do you want me to sleep with you? Or something like that, where it was so And in my mind, I'm thinking, this Google Translate, I know that's not what you're trying to say. I don't actually know what you're trying to say. So I laughed at it, but I'm sure she was wondering, well, what are you laughing at? Because she doesn't know the translation. So in the end, I had to give up on the Google Translate, just keep showing a photo. It's like, this, I don't know. But it hasn't prohibited me from, there's never been a time where it's like, okay, no, I can't do that because I can't do it. No, it's just, it might take some time and using the translations and this and that. And also, charades and stuff. I mean, even if you've traveled, so as you know, the language barrier, you can work around it. Like, and even administrative stuff like the banks and stuff. And I've been getting help from teachers from school. So there hasn't been anything at this point where I said, no, I'm not doing this because of the language, thankfully.
Mhm. And what about meeting the locals? If you met any, Koreans there, do you also use translator to talk if they don't speak English? But I'm assuming the people around our age probably, know some English, right?
So yes and no. So with the people our age, actually, it's funny you said that. Actually, I went to a cafe the other day. I was getting a gift card for my a friend at school, and it was a guy. He lived in Toronto, so Korean. So he studied in Toronto, and he loved speaking to the English. Like, oh my God, where are you from? This and that. Because where we are, there's no English, so he's never interacting with a foreigner because there's not many foreigners in my area. So the Koreans I have met have all been through the network from school. I have not been able to meet any outside like dating and stuff, but like Koreans like as friends just walking around because again, I can't imagine like, oh hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Just going back and forth unless it is a language exchange and stuff. But there have been people at the restaurants where they know me because I'm frequenting in these restaurants where they'll say like, hello, have a good day, just stuff like that. But it has been difficult, I think, to meet people outside of school. School has been great because it's all Korean coworkers, so I've been able to meet their friends, significant others, and stuff. But other than the dating aspect, like just friends, it's been kind of difficult because of the language barrier, I would say.
Mhm. Interesting. And like I want to dive a bit deeper into the food because I actually love Korean food. I really love it, and there's quite a lot of Korean restaurants in Montreal where I reside, and I've tried quite a lot. So if I just throw you some names, uh, let me know if you tried it, and let me know what you think of those.
Of
Um,
course.
First one, let's kimbap.
Oh well, yeah, man, I love it. I mean, before you name all the foods, there hasn't really been any foods here that I haven't liked. So you'll name all these ones. I've really enjoyed everything, and I don't know what I've been doing. I've never really had Korean food in my life. Like, so I mean, you said Montreal has a lot of restaurants. I used to live in DC. I think I just turned a blind eye if there were Korean restaurants. I can't even think of any back home. Obviously, they're there, but I never tried it. So everything here has been a new experience, and really enjoyed it. The bulgogi I've loved, and just the Korean barbecue. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Have you noticed that Korean food can be really spicy? Like when I go eat, I always ask them, can you give me like mild, like very mild, and that's already pretty spicy. Where I was like, I can't even eat it because it's so spicy, at least for
Yeah,
me.
well, I'm the kind of guy that says, "Let me get the hottest thing," and I overestimate my abilities. So yeah, you're right. Some of these like pepper things, you see these Koreans eating them like it's candy. Well, here I am trying to eat it, and I'm like crying. My nose is all runny, and like, yeah, it can be spicy. And I've learned what you're saying. Yeah, maybe tone it down a little because I'm
Mhm.
still getting used to it.
And I've also heard that is there a big drinking culture there in terms of when you go out, there's a lot of alcohol, and they can tolerate quite a lot of alcohol too when they drink.
Well, so you know about soju?
Yeah, I tried it. It's very good actually.
Okay, for the people, the listeners, soju. So I've looked it up and I've discovered. So it's a Korean version of vodka because I was wondering like what kind of liquor is it? And people here will say no, it's soju, but I just want to know like. But so I did find out it is like a Korean vodka and the soju, as you're saying, the drinking culture here, it's all about this soju. So it comes in these smaller bottles, which we determine I think is about 10 shots. I think when you do pour it all out.
Mhm.
But yeah, these Koreans, they love the soju. And for me, and you say it's good, it is easy to drink, but man, it comes out of nowhere when it gets you. And the hangovers with that are horrible for me. They're a different type with the soju. But the soju, it's just everywhere. You know, whenever you go out, even just for something light, oh, bottle of soju. And then they mix it with the beer too. So it's, you're either taking the soju shots or with the beer. And then you're talking about the culture. The big thing here is respect with the elders. So you really, when the elders are pouring drinks, 'cause I've been on some with my coworkers and stuff, you really can't refuse it. So sometimes I'm thinking like, I really don't want any more, but it's no, you're gonna drink it. And so then I also have learned, you know, just when you're pouring stuff, if you're younger, you have to put your hand holding like your wrist at a sign of respect when you're pouring. And
Mm.
then also, which I keep forgetting, which they let it slide for foreigners, but for Koreans, if you're drinking alcohol in front of an elder, you have to drink the other way, so they can't see you drink it. So
Oh,
it's like cheers, and then it's, you know, the younger person will drink to the side. So stuff like that, and even just like in restaurants and stuff, when you're giving, let's say you're paying with your card, you still have to do that thing where you have to hold your hand if it's an older person. If you're receiving cash back and stuff, it's all about that. And but they're really big on the pouring with the two hands. It's, I mean, obviously that, you know, it's a slide for the foreigners, but it is very disrespectful. I've heard and read that if you just, you know, hey, here, you want some drink, and just pour it. No, it needs to be two hands and stuff like that. But the soju culture here, it's everywhere. So much soju.
yeah, that's super interesting. And I also want to dive a bit into your work culture, because and it's because like from the videos, some of the videos I watched about Korea, um, after work, like there's a common theme of going out with your coworkers and maybe for dinner or gather together, and it's something that's kind of expected to for you to join and go do, and not say go your own way and kind of like go home and do your own thing, right? Can you
Exactly.
speak a little bit about that, and even with things like if you were to introduce yourself to another colleague that you don't know, is there some certain formalities that you have to also think of that might be disrespectful if you didn't know about it?
Well, so the big thing, as you know, with the going out to coworkers, so there's been times where we'll have a meeting, and then the principal or whoever's leading the meeting will say, "No, we're going to go out right now to get chicken and beer." So it's not, "Do you want to?" It's what you're saying, like, "No, you're coming out." So it is, I think, a lot of, because I think that's kind of, I don't know about Canada, but in the U.S., like if someone's gonna say, I think it's like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna go to happy hour, like if you guys want to come." But here it was more, "No, no, you're coming."
Mm.
So it wasn't like you have the option. So I think what you're saying with that, in terms of meeting people, I think when I meet someone, you know, as you know, back home, it's all about the handshake and stuff. But I don't know what the deal is with that here though, because of COVID. So I'm not really going for handshakes to meet people. So I don't know the formalities and stuff. I think just it is kind of similar to home, just like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? What's your name?" This, and just being the, you know, the first impression kind of thing. But I don't know the correct way of, if there's a handshake about, I don't know what that be. I think because of, you know, COVID without the handshakes and stuff. Um but no, you're totally right. You definitely know about the it's a lot of, as a team kind of thing, a lot of unity amongst the coworkers, especially after work. There's a lot of hanging out, and it's not so much an option. It's, no, we're all going out, so you're coming kind of thing, as you know.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And speaking of work, you're teaching in, South Korea, and you've taught in Spain. So tell me about that. What is the biggest difference? How is the education system there? How are the students? How do they act when they're in the classes? Because I believe you're teaching in person right now as well, right?
Yeah. So a background. So this is my third contract within teaching English as a foreign language. So I did two in Spain, in two separate regions of Spain. So one, as we talked, in Galicia, and then most recently in Barcelona. So
Mhm.
in the time in Spain, I was able to teach kids aged, well, the beginning, 3 until graduation of high school, so 18. So in Korea, well, in Spain, I worked at kind of like a semi-private school in Galicia, and then Barcelona, just a public school. Well, here in Korea, if you teach in Korea, there are two routes. You either go through the public school system through a program. There's one called EPIC, where they, you know, you come in, they'll place you throughout the country through these public schools, and you could have like 40, 50 kids in a class. It could be quite overwhelming, I'd say. I did the private school route, so they're called hagwons, so they're academies and stuff. So yes, I'm working at an academy, and I'm with kids aged 2. That's the youngest. 2 until I guess 5, because the reason I'm thinking, because in Korean, I don't know if you notice, the ages are different. So when you're born, you're 1. As for us, you are a day old, 2 days old. Well, here you come out the womb, you're 1 years old. But then everyone turns the following age on January 1st. So there are times where a baby born December 29th could be 2 years old in Korean, but for us, they're like 2, 3 days old. So I still sometimes have issues understanding how old these kids are because they're all referred to in their Korean age. So, but I'm guessing, I think the youngest kid is 2, but they even could be late 1. So I'm teaching quite young kids, which is a big difference from Spain, because Spain, let's say 3 years old, but these Korean kids, that they could be turning 2 or they're 2. So also here I'm teaching math, science, and gym class, which I did not know I would be teaching gym. And I was kind of, when I arrived here, I gave my schedule and, it said gym class. And I'm thinking, okay, I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't know with the interview, with the recruit, I had no idea. But, I love playing sports and stuff, so it wasn't a problem. But for those listening, when you're working with kids aged 1, 2, it's like daycare, really. Like, these kids can't speak Korean. They can't really speak much. So it really is kind of difficult because the structure of the classes, so it's like 7 of the babies, and for me, I like being with them, but it's tough. Like, so what do I do? Because I have not done with kids that young. And so the big difference between Spain and Korea, in Spain, the programs are, you're a language assistant. So you might be with the kids by yourself sometimes, but for the most part, you're with a co-teacher or something. Well, here in my position, I'm by myself. So there's with the babies, there's another teacher in the other room, but like it's me leading it. And so I'm still trying to a lot of trial and error. Like, what do I do with these kids? They might be crying, falling asleep. I mean, they're babies. So just being able to work with that. But in terms of differences, I think Barcelona, again, I was with the older kids, but I was with the young kids sometimes. I think the English it was better there than here, which I don't know. I thought, because as Asian culture putting so much emphasis on education, that these kids at even such a young age would have a better grasp of English. But I think that's a little different for me. But I mean, it's going well. The gym class is fun. I played lacrosse in the U.S. I played some in Europe, so I brought my stick, and my parents shipped me some small sticks I'm going to introduce lacrosse in Korea to these kids, because they've never heard of lacrosse. I mean, lacrosse is very U.S., Canada, a little bit England, Australia, but I think I'm going to try to introduce it and just try to make it fun, because they give you a lot of curriculum with the gym, but sometimes it's very goofy, I'd say. So I'm going to try to bring some new things to it. But yeah, I think it's going very well, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture 2-year-olds playing lacrosse.
Yeah, we'll see them. I don't know that they'll be ready for that. They'll be crawling with the stick. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think the behavior for the most part is good. There are some times with, let's say, the 5-year-olds where they really don't listen to me. And I was a little surprised because, reading about Korea, and, there's a lot of respect for the teacher. They're always calling you teacher. They're just very, very respectful, which for the most part they are, but sometimes they do not listen to me, which in Spain, it happened, but not with the younger kids. Like, it was more like the middle schoolers, because, middle schoolers are very difficult.
Yeah.
But I found that very surprising. Like, wow, I really thought, when I say stop, do this, do that, I thought they would listen at the beginning and not be kind of wild. But yeah, I think that's the big downside for me, because there's sometimes when I'm after that kind of class where you're really just burnt out, like just, the time and energy you spend, like, hey, please stop, like just listen. And sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think I've heard that middle school and high school are probably the hardest age groups to teach, right?
For me, it was just the middle school because high school, I mean, they were kind of out of that phase
Uh,
of being the district, like in Barcelona. Because Barcelona, they were really like respectful. But no, the middle school, as you know, middle schoolers are a different breed.
yeah.
And then it's funny too because Spain didn't really do this, but here they take English names. Spain, they would keep their names. But so I don't know all their names, their Korean names, because they're just their English names. So there are some kids here. There's kids named Rapunzel, Elsa. There's one girl I still don't understand the backstory. Her name is Tweak.
Okay, interesting.
Have no idea. Like Tweak, is an English word, but I've never heard it as a name. And I had it from her previous school because she came in and said, "Yeah, I'm Tweak." I'm like, oh, okay, interesting.
Are
There's
these
another kid named
translated
Shark.
from their Korean names?
No, they just pick. Her name is Harina. So they just with an H. They just make up their English name. And the one kid he picked Shark. Another kid picked Eel. Favorite animals. Okay, so they have the freedom to pick that. And all the Korean teachers, they have all their English names. And it's funny because I mean I don't know any of these kids like or even the teachers the Korean names because it's all the English name because they picked that. It's just very interesting because Spain did not do that. They kept their names.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I didn't even know that. So I guess you can choose whatever name that you like, and
Exactly. You pick a verb for tweak, you pick an animal for shark, whatever you want, that's your English name. It's interesting because I wonder why they do that. I think is it kind of like, oh, he's a foreigner, he probably can't even say their Korean name. Like I don't know because it's interesting because I don't have to know their Korean name and they don't that they in their mind they are tweak, they are Sean, they are Ryan. Like it's just so drilled that even when they talk to each other they say their English name. So I wonder, like, is it one of those like, oh, this is the name you're gonna have for the rest of your life, your English name?
mhm,
I don't know. It's just an interesting concept, I think, because again, like I said, that it wasn't in Spain.
mhm. And as you mentioned, like in Asia, they're very like their education starts very early, and they're very advanced at even a young age. Have you seen that? Just the dynamic with I know you're teaching like very young kids, 2 to 5, but with your colleagues who might be teaching a bit older kids, does that change the way you teach a bit, or like it stays the same?
Well, see, as you said, you're preaching to the choir. It's very rigid as in going on the curriculum and making sure it's the best for the child because these parents, a lot of these kids, there was one kid. So there's an international school on the top floor, and then my floor, it's like a pre-K kind of thing. But so the girl had been shifted from so many different schools because the parents, it's like, oh, well, this one is not giving the best education, so we're gonna switch. So that it's not really the best interest for the child going back and forth between these things. It's all about the education and just the quality of it. And a thing that I've noticed, so with my coworkers, my colleagues, they have to call the parents of the kids every single day and give them the lowdown on everything. Oh, what did you do today? How was the behavior? This and that, which I think is very different, I think, maybe from Western. Like it's very like I want to know what the kid's doing exactly today. I want to know what the kid's doing in science class. What are you doing in English gym? Just stuff like that. So I think it is a more emphasis on education. As you know, it's a year-round school system here as well. So it's not because in Canada, is it the summer vacation kind of thing? Is that the big
Exactly. Yeah.
exact? So no, that's no. So it's like maybe 10 days here, 10 days there. So it's very all about the education. And my school, if the kids are too young, um, but the older kids, they may go to the school in the morning or the day, and then they'll go to a private academy at night. So it's very education, and it's a strict emphasis on that, and it's a big shift because Spain wasn't necessarily like that, in the U.S., Canada, what we're used to, it's just a different aspect, and the like I said, like the colleagues, I mean, they spend like 2 hours like every day talking to every parent about what's going on. So it's very different, and for me from experiencing.
Okay, so you incorporate that into your schedule as well. Every day that you're going to call the parents and you're going to talk to them.
See, me, no, because not Korean, but yes, they have to. So it's
Oh, okay.
every day, and I'm just wondering, like, how is it? How are these conversations? And
Yeah.
sometimes the colleagues will tell me, the parents, they really like, they'll say things like, "Oh no, I think you should do this. We're paying this amount of money for this," and really not necessarily taking into account the respect of the teacher. It's more of, no, I want this for my child, and you have to do it, or else we're leaving. So it's a lot. The parents have a lot of power here.
Really, really interesting. And with what you said, with after school, they might be registered to these private classes where go like 'cause I know in China they do something similar as well. Like they're nonstop. Let's say Monday to Saturday is, I mean, the whole day. Like in the evening, you're either in school after school, you're doing the homework, or you're at somewhere trying to learn and catch up or be more advanced. And so that nature of the education system. And it's a really interesting perspective, and I never knew that they didn't have a summer break, which that's really interesting. So it's a year-round thing, and you just occasionally have 10 days here, maybe a few weeks there, kind of like that.
Yeah, so the summer vacation, doing air quotes, is what, 10 days or something. And then, okay, so the year starts March 1st. And then, so we just had a Christmas holiday, which was, but even a lot of these other Hagwons and all the people that I've spoken to, other friends, they didn't have it. So it's like exactly scattered vacations here and there. So they have a Korean version of Thanksgiving, Chuseok, which is, I don't know, maybe 5 days there. And then there's a lot of, they call them red days. So like 3-day weekends. But the
Mm,
big ones are maybe a winter break, which doesn't really have to necessarily, what do you call it? Match up with Christmas and New Year's. And then Lunar New Year, there's a few days.
mm.
And then my school, the summer break, I don't even know when it is, July, I don't know. But it's like probably 10 days total. So it is very, but the public school system, I think they have a little bit different. But yeah, you still go through the summer, and it's not like what we have back home. Oh, you're off June, July, August.
Yeah,
So they're in school a lot, as we know what we're saying.
yeah. Really, really interesting. And look, Matt, thank you for offering this perspective on for just people listening about the teaching there. I wanted to, I wanted to talk to you about Jeju Island. I mean, you got caught in a blizzard there, right?
So yeah, Jeju Island. So for the people who don't know, so well, Korea for one is not a big country compared to some of these other countries. Basically, you can fly anywhere in Korea in under an hour. So it's very easily traveled, with an airplane. So I bought Jeju Island is off the coast of Korea, and they call it like the Hawaii of South Korea because it's very like tropical with the colors of the water. It's this turquoise blue, and you would think you're in the tropics when really, when you look on a map, you're still quite far north. So yeah, I went during my Christmas break. I actually decided, yeah, on a Monday, hey, like, I think I'm gonna go to Jeju Island tonight. Bought a ticket, a few minutes later for what, $6 for a one way. It was just okay. I guess I'm gonna go to Jeju Island. So I go there, and so again, it's about a 40-minute flight. There's not much of a cruising altitude. It's like, you go up 20 minutes, you can use the bathroom. Oh, we're coming back down. So very quick. And so it's a beautiful island. Like, there's a volcano in the center. There's like a crater on the side, but I didn't really take into account that things would be closed because of COVID. Like even nature things. I didn't think, this volcano. It's like 8 different hiking routes would be closed because of COVID. I just thought, it'd be open. It's nature. So I was really kind of limited to what I could do in Jeju. But yeah, I got caught in like a blizzard. And, for one, snow in Busan's in the south is quite rare. And so here we are going farther south. And again, they call it the Hawaii of Korea. So I thought, no, there's no blizzard. What? Well, I did a hike, one that actually wasn't closed. And I mean, it was snowing a little light. Then next thing you know, it really picks up and it's all this wind. I'm not wearing gloves. I'm trying to like record it and like my hands are shaking. It's a whiteout. I'm literally blinded. And so I'm walking and my phone dies and I don't even know really where I am. So again, I'm so cold. I'm wearing like Adidas soccer pants. So I'm not really prepared, wearing tennis shoes. And yeah, I thought I was gonna get, stuck out there. And so I had to communicate to some Koreans, like, again, my phone was dead, so I couldn't even use a translator. So I was using like charades, like, hey, like, call taxi, and it was ordeals. And I couldn't feel my hands for like hours, and I did not expect there to be like this all-out blizzard whiteout in the farthest south in South Korea, because Busan, no snow. Seoul, okay, because Seoul's in the north. There's a lot of mountains and stuff, so the snow. But yeah, I was on a tropical island and got caught in a blizzard. So what a time to be alive at the end of 2020.
Yeah, well, it wasn't quite the experience me you were expecting.
It was beautiful, but yeah, getting caught in that was not what you're saying, not what I was expecting at all. And it hurt. My hands were frozen. And I didn't dress accordingly because I did not really expect a blizzard on this island.
Does that happen often, the immediate change in temperature and climate?
The wind, it's very windy. I did read online, but I think it was kind of rare, just like this blizzard, really coming out of nowhere. Because I read in the weather, snow, light snow, but no, this blizzard, I think it was kind of an anomaly, and I got to experience it firsthand.
Well, look, this year is pretty weird. I mean, here in Canada, like other than today where we've got snow, I mean, we the whole January really we didn't have much. It's pretty warm. And I heard that in Japan, it's like, huge snowstorms, China too. Like, it's I mean, Canada, we're
Everything's
supposed to be
weird,
cold here.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even back home, so me living near Washington D.C., it's just been like record highs for the winter, where it's like January or December and it's like hot.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you're saying is just this different, crazy. And so yeah, I got to experience that. And but the thing about Jeju, so they're really known for we're talking about food,
Mhm.
a black pig, which I think is native to Jeju, but not the mainland. So they have, Korean barbecue is all about, really it's about more the pig than the chicken, I think, and the beef. So here, their specialty is this black pig. So I went to this Korean barbecue and I just had to get it. That's what they're known for, and it was so good. Just so if y'all are ever in Korea, okay, Korean barbecue for one, but trying this black pig from Jeju. It's a little more expensive, but it's worth it. Just to try, because that's their specialty.
Right. And how is that black pig cooked? Like
So the Korean barbecue, it comes out raw, and so you have your little not a stove. I don't even know what you would call. What would you call it? The
a little boiler thing, but there's like a heat, right? And you
Yeah,
put
we'll call it that. So, it comes out raw and you just, cook it to your liking, and they give you the side stuff, garlic, lettuce, kimchi, all this stuff, and you can combine it. And here, I think the big thing is using the lettuce as the
yeah.
like a taco kind of thing. So putting it on and eating it. But yeah, you cook it to how you want it. I mean, if you want to eat more on the rare side, if you will, and very smart cooked. So, but it's cool. You have the freedom to decide. It's not all about a chef. You are the chef.
Okay, see, so the black pig is just one of those meats that you can cook on.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was a
So
whole completely different dish. Like,
you can. There is. I didn't try. I did the one where I wanted to cook myself, kind of thing. I wanted the freedom, but yeah, definitely, because the Korean barbecue aspect of the black pig. Yeah, you're doing that. I think there's another version where they will prepare it.
mhm,
Not sure how. I did not try that.
yeah, interesting. And from what you told me, you also visited the largest bamboo forest in Korea.
Yes. So the thing that I'm a little disappointed about myself, I have not done as much traveling because you can leave Korea. I could go to Japan, but then you got to do the 14-day quarantine coming back, so you're not doing that, especially with school. But I'm a little disappointed that I have not traveled as much as, I mean, me, I'm always looking for the next move, and I have really not done a lot of travel in Korea, which I don't know why. I mean, I have not gone to Seoul because the COVID levels are higher there, and the school, they really don't want you traveling there. But so Ulsan, yes, I went to Ulsan, which is a little north of Busan, and it's like a 20-minute ride on the bullet train, because I mean, the bullet train is fast. And so they have the largest bamboo forest in Korea, which is so surreal because I've never, even when I was in China, I don't even remember if I even saw a bamboo forest, but to see it here, it was just, one of my coworkers, and I didn't even know there was a bamboo forest. And just seeing like how tall it is and, touching the bamboo, like, because I think bamboo is just one of the coolest plants. And I mean, these bamboo trees are humongous. So yeah, it was so cool able to see, the largest bamboo forest in Korea, because, when you think of bamboo, what do you think of in China? I didn't even know there was bamboo in Korea. So it was definitely an awesome experience that I want to go back at night because they really light it up and
Yeah.
stuff. And so it
Cool.
it was so cool.
Yeah. Are there animals in there, or just it's a bamboo park?
Just a bamboo, like, and they have trails and stuff, but no animals. But then it's cool they had like structures of bamboo where some are skinnier than others. It's like, oh, how fat or skinny are you? So getting between the bamboo, and it was funny seeing these older Korean um people, like trying to squeeze through it, and like, oh, how skinny are you, and stuff like that. So I mean, they have it, here they have a lot of culture villages. So it's like a culture village dedicated to the bamboo. And also in Ulsan, they actually used to do some whaling. So it was like a whaling village that they have, and they dedicated to like what the history was, because it's illegal, I think, in Korea now. But so like just like Ulsan, it's a very industrial city, but at one point it was dedicated to the whaling. And so it's like a culture village. Like you go in, they have these whale statues, and oh, this is what life was like when the economy was driven on whaling. So they have a lot of these culture parks and stuff that's dedicated to specific things. Like actually in Jeju, I stumbled upon, there was a sculpture park, a garden. It was just a sex park. And so it's just the local college had just done all these artwork and stuff and sculptures just about sex. So they have just so many parks in Korea that are dedicated to just different things. The sex park, the whaling village, the bamboo thing, and then I think there's even like a little France and stuff. So it's just very there's something for everyone. And Jeju, they had like a teddy bear museum and a chocolate park and just something like very specific things.
Interesting. And do these designations are they because there's it was a part of history, or it just it could be random, like, oh, let me do designated to like whaling, or designated to like pandas, whatever it is, where they actually have significant meaning back in history.
I think both. So the whaling, of course, because that was way of life, but the sex park just for fun. Teddy bears, I think it was just like, no, we're just gonna do that.
Mhm.
It's interesting. So I think it's going to be very just keep it fresh. I think like, oh, you ever been to a teddy bear park? No, well, come to us. We have one. So I think it's just very so yeah, both aspects though, because the whaling, of course, that's history, but some of the other ones not so much.
Interesting. So I guess, I mean, there's something for everybody.
There's something for everyone in Korea, I swear.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, look, it's been a pleasure chatting. I hope you have a great time in Korea. I know you have, another half a year to go at least. You're staying a year there. So, any final words for the people listening?
Yeah, I think again, like I said last time, if you're ever thinking about teaching abroad, you have the whole world at your disposal. Really, I never expected to be in Korea. You asked me this 2 years ago, a year ago when I was in Spain.
Yeah.
Did not expect it. I am beyond thrilled that I made this decision. Granted, my experience is a little different than, let's say, 2 years ago, someone who had just arrived in Korea because of COVID and stuff. But I'm still having a blast. Trying to immerse myself in the culture, and it's just so different than Spain, and I just love that. Just yeah. So people that are thinking about Korea to visit at some point, I say go all in and teaching English as well. And yeah, if you have any questions about that, I'm here to talk.
Yeah, so I'll link everything where you can reach Matt in the descriptions. And like you said, traveling abroad, is life changing, and we have to do it. We have to explore the world, explore different cultures and different areas. So I'm glad you're doing that. I mean,
100%.
making moves, right?
Making moves. That's all I do, and that's what everyone should be doing. Not now so much, but when you can, make some moves.
I agree. All right, we'll end it on this note. Thank you, Matt, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man.
All right, take care.
Talk soon.